Hello and welcome back to Chatter Cave. The Chatter Cave. Fuck off, Ghost. Piss off, Ghost. Oh, I wonder where Tom is. Thank you.
Not even fire.
No,
Shoot apple trees at you. So bolted.
it's there.
Ow! I felt that.
That's not a very good helmet, is it? Can we guess what we're talking about?
Ass wipe.
Yes. If you haven't already guessed,
Oh no, I've broken the one rule.
you've broken many rules in your life.
Oh. I put my glasses back on so I can see. Oh. Yes, we are talking The Mandalorian. Series 1.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we was supposed to cover the second Reef movie, but we ran out of time because I got distracted rewatching this little bastard. Obviously, you watched it for the first time, so I was like, crap, ran out of time. So we'll just do that one next week instead. And instead, we shall cover the first series of this. Yeah, a little rewatch for me for the third or fourth time now. So yeah, we're going to talk about Mandalorian. Stand him up on the helmet.
It's not really working.
There you go. We are now one.
This is his ugly cousin.
Rogu.
That's Rogu.
But yeah, I put him down there actually. But yeah, obviously, I'm the host, King Thomas Hughes. Obviously, we have Hayden Roberts with me here. And yeah, this is obviously something I wanted to talk about. I mean, I kind of had plans for this when it first came out. Like, fucking, for us, like, 2020. I mean, I had, like, thumbnails and made and everything for it, but I just never actually did it. Because at the time, we never really bothered reviewing TV shows, and it was always just movies. But obviously, over the years, we've actually gone into that realm of TV. So I thought, well, we've watched it, I might as well just use this as an excuse to talk about it now. So, yeah, obviously, it came out in 2019 on Disney Plus. It was their big first TV show. Obviously, there was no Marvel shows at that time. There was nothing really. This was their big come to Disney Plus. We've got this TV show. It's our magnum opus. And obviously, it worked. It took a year before we got it because obviously we didn't have Disney Plus at the time in the UK. So it was literally during COVID that they decided to launch Disney Plus in the UK and give us it. Even though probably by this point, everyone had already seen the show.
Through
many means. Because everyone wanted to watch it. That's how big this show was. It was the rebirth of the Star Wars universe. I mean, the Star Wars universe has always obviously hit a lot of like humps along the way. Obviously, we had our original trilogy back in the day. Obviously, New Hope, Empire, Return of the Jedi, and those are the big three movies. And obviously, that was it really. Obviously, there's a lot of like little short things that. Like the holiday special, which no one wants to talk about, and it took till obviously the late 90s, early 2000s that they went, let's bring it back, let's explore the previous parts that we haven't explored yet, obviously, and build up to those movies. So we had the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, sorry, which is full of very dodgy CGI and a lot of meme-worthy content.
Beautiful memes.
And this shoddy-ass Jar Jar Binks.
It's the memes get better in the prequels of age. The first one, not many. Second one, there's a few, especially the sand. But the third one is like the entire film.
What is it with 2000 movies that the third one's a meme-worthy movie?
Perfect.
I mean, Spider-Man 3, meme-worthy.
Perfect.
Yeah, obviously that was really obviously the way Star Wars really reinvented itself heavily was its animated side with the Clone Wars and Rebels,
especially the series themselves, and
obviously Rebels. Those are the ones where they kind of reinvented themselves a bit. And it obviously wasn't until, well, JJ did Force Awakens that everyone was like jumping back on the gun of Star Wars because, yes, it was basically the same plot as the first movie, but it was better than what we'd had before because it introduced a lot of new stuff as well as bringing back a lot of nostalgia.
And also stuff from expanding media and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of that member berries.
Yes.
And at that point, everyone thought, oh yeah, Star Wars is back on track now. We're actually going to get a decent lot. It's not started off bad. Like, obviously, the prequel trilogy did. It's not started off very weak and slowly evolved into a bit better. This one kind of actually started off strong and then kind of like waved its way to the end. So obviously we had the new trilogy, which was like good, meh, a little bit better, but still meh.
Yeah.
And then we had the spin-off movies. So we had Rogue One, which in my opinion is like a masterpiece. It's up there for me. It's like one of the best ones. And then we had the obviously Solo movie, which wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. I actually liked the Solo movie, but it just wasn't as good as it should have been, thanks to all the fucking constant reshoots, the fact that the original directors dropped out and Ron Howard had to step in and try and fix it.
And you know, Ron Howard, he only works with dwarves.
That's why Warwick Davis was in it.
Yeah, really?
Warwick Davis is actually in it, yes.
Seriously?
During the final act of Solo, obviously, these people that you thought were bad guys early on appear and help Solo and the group. And obviously, they're led by the one who played the Flag Smasher leader in Falcon Winter Soldier, who obviously was also in Willow with Warwick Davis. And obviously, he's also part of this group. He's one of them that helps in the final act. Honest to God. Obviously, people that have watched it know, but since you didn't know, yes, he's actually in this movie. But I actually like Solo. I don't think it's a masterpiece, but it was pretty entertaining.
Does that mean Solo is technically Willow free? Or would the Willow series be Willow free? And Solo is Willow 2?
Well, there is actually 3 Willow chapters, because at the end of the Willow series, they actually do reveal the fact that this Willow series is the second part of the story. There is a first part.
Solo is the Willow 3 set in the future, where you've got Willows now.
But yeah, and obviously then we had the delve into the TV saga. Obviously, we've had Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Obi-Wan. We've also got Ahsoka still to come. We've got many shows to come. We've still got loads of movies to come. But obviously, it's shown since it's 2016? Was it 2014, 15 when Force Awakens came out?
I think.
So where Force came
I was
out.
in college during the second.
I think it was Force Awakens, then Rogue One came out.
Yes.
Then Last Jedi came out. Then obviously Solo came out, and then the last one came out.
I remember I watched the Last Jedi.
That was 2015. I'm going to say, because I swear it was pretty much that Star Wars came to that point. Then it was every single year we got a Star Wars movie basically. So I'm going to say off the top of my head, 2015. So obviously from 2015 till 2023, it still hasn't reached the standards of being consistent constantly, but it has had moments of rebirth. Obviously Rogue One being the big movie Rogue One and Force Awakens being the big 2 movie rebirths, and then in the series aspect, obviously it was Mandalorian. That was the one that everyone jumped at following the disaster obviously of Last Jedi, which is ironic because I'm wearing the t-shirt from Last Jedi. I'm only wearing it because Captain Phasma's on it. I like Captain Phasma. But yeah, so Star Wars seems to do well when it obviously is nostalgic, but doesn't fully go nostalgic. Obviously, it doesn't try and force nostalgia. It tries to do it naturally. Obviously, with Force Awakens, whereas the Rise of Skywalker kind of forced the nostalgia, whereas Mandalorian doesn't. It has nostalgia a little bit here and there, but it doesn't force it. It's like the
nostalgia comes from just
seeing things,
the atmosphere, and seeing things in a shot. It's not forced down your throat.
It also, obviously, it's another aspect of at the point of the first series. Obviously, Star Wars tends to be a bit more different and a bit more intriguing when it doesn't try and just constantly try and repeat the
Same
Jedi
story. Yeah,
because I mean, Rogue One wasn't about Jedis. That was about the crew trying to steal stuff.
Something unique.
Obviously, then Mandalorian was about the bounty hunters. Obviously, same with Boba Fett, even though that was a bit of a letdown. Andor, I forgot to mention that as a TV show. Obviously, that again was setting up Rogue One, and that was honestly it's up there with Mandalorian as like the best Star Wars series. But yeah, obviously it shows that when they try and copy, sometimes it does work. Obviously, not all the time. I think Boba Fett, the first like half of the series is hit and miss. But when they introduced the Mandalorian, that's when it actually became a better series because it kind of just became Mandalorian 2.5. Yes. Because most of the plot pretty much eradicated Boba Fett from it. His own series pushed him out to focus heavily on Mando and Grogu. Honest to God,
they're the money makers, really.
Honestly, we had like I think it was about 4 straight episodes. Was it either 3 or 4 straight episodes? That was all about Boba Fett and rebuilding his character up, showing what happened after Return of the Jedi and what built him up to when we first saw him in Mandalorian. And also at the same time, we had a lot of stuff what has happened after Series 2 Mandalorian. But then they literally pushed him out the plot just to build up Mandalorian again. And then they brought him back for bits and bobs here and there. That is honestly what happened in that show. It was a mess of a show at times. But it was great when the Mandalorian was part of it because I love Mandalorian. Clearly, yes. I'm going to put this on the floor. It's in my way. I got it. Where's the mic? Yeah, it's just one of those shows. It's very spaghetti western, and
like classic Star Wars was.
Yeah,
like classic Star Wars was cowboys
in space.
Yeah,
and obviously I grew up heavily with westerns. Obviously with the likes of the Clint Eastwood movies, John Wayne movies.
Yeah,
you name it. I watched a lot of the old ones, and that's like that was my big thing back in there. Obviously, I'm like really big into the superhero genre and horror. Back then, I was heavily into westerns, so I always lend DVDs off my granddad. The likes of Magnificent Seven, True Grit, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I've actually got that collection. So on and so forth. So obviously, when I'm watching this, and I'm seeing shots, and it's like that is very like sort of western, like the shots of the sideways revolver is. Like stuff like that, and like the sand and all that. I'm getting like the little towns. I think
that's why it's mostly always set in Tatooine. Most Star Wars
because you can make it look Western, yes. But it's obviously something that I can't get enough of it. I say I've seen this show now about 3 or 4 times. The first series, I think I've seen the second series twice. Obviously the third series, when obviously this goes out, will have started launching, so I'm going to be jumping on that as soon as it fucking comes out. But I mean, I've collected so much shit of Mandalorian over the past so long. I mean, I've got like a Imperial credit. Pretty cool. I've got like a little metal plaque of Grogu and Mando. See, I have a massive Funko Pop collection of Mandalorian. I mean, this is the only technically solo Grogu one I've got. All the others I've got are ones when he's been held by someone.
Yeah.
So I've literally got Luke holding him, I've got Mando holding him, I've got Droid holding him.
Yes. Dark Trooper.
Yeah, Dark Trooper, sorry, not Droid. Well, they're kind of droidish. But yeah, I just love Mandalorian. I know I was speaking to you, and you're like, I've not watched him. I was like, really? Doesn't surprise me, but really. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna put the first episode on for you, and then we'll see where we go from there. And obviously, we kind of just kept watching until the point of we've now finished series 1, and it's just I'm still hooked. I'd like to know your opinion because I haven't heard your opinion yet of it. I mean, when you first watched the first episode, you're like, it was all right, but I wasn't drawn into it heavily. But I want to know what your opinion is as the show went along.
I think for me, it started off not as interesting, but it became more interesting over the time. I mean, it took longer to get to there, but it's there now. I think at the time it just seemed too slow, but as it got on, it picked up speed, and yeah, I think I like it now. Basically, it took some time to get there. I'm not as big on Star Wars. I love the prequels mostly for the memes. I don't actually sit down and watch them. You know what I mean? And I've watched a few. I have watched the films. Like I've watched Force Awakens, and I watched the sequel in the cinema because everyone from college is doing it. So fuck it. But I never watched Rise of Skywalker.
It's only ever so slightly better than that Last Jedi, but like, only ever so slightly.
Yeah. So I wasn't as big onto it, but I know you were. Like, hence your Christmas present was Obi-Wan's lightsaber.
Don't drop it.
Yeah, don't drop it.
This is obviously the
the statue form.
sheathed version.
Yes.
Obviously doesn't work because the slide's not attached. But yes, my lightsaber. The only one I have had since
the cheap ones.
since the fucking the proper plastic, the massive fucking one I had years ago.
Yeah.
That was ironically Obi-Wan's one from, I want to say, it's one of the prequel ones. I can't remember which one it was.
Oh.
It might have been Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
Might have been that one.
Yeah, because I had a lightsaber. It was the one that it's like the claws are closed up and it's green. You press a button, the claws open and it turns red. You can become Sith or Jedi.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
You can choose how you want it to be.
But yeah, we're not talking about the Jedi or the Sith here.
No, we're talking about pew pew bounty hunters.
We're talking about
they
bounty
go pew
hunters.
pew, and then have a little baby going. And
memes.
I need the memes. I definitely saw some of the memes, but there was the whole we got you grounded 4-1. I like those odds. That's one of the memes. That's where that's from. That's where that's from.
This show does a good job, obviously introducing a lot of new characters to the universe.
Yes.
A lot of really interesting characters. Obviously, a lot of bounty hunter based characters, and even adds other ones that aren't bounty hunters that are very intriguing. So obviously Mandalorian is a big interest straight away.
Yeah.
Obviously, you got the guy who's kind of running the guild. Obviously played by Carl Weathers. So he's very intriguing because he's both good and bad at the same time. So he'll literally, for money, he'll double you in. But at the same time, when he sees the goodness, he'll help. That's what he sees in this. When he sees Grogu help,
it's a bit like
he's like, okay, I need to not be an arsehole.
It's a bit like the Sky City guy.
Oh, Lando.
Yeah, Lando. That's it. Yeah, it's a bit like him. Obviously, he gave up Han Solo in the second film,
but then helped in the third one.
Yeah, you can see it as at first he would do for money, but now he's starting to
realise the right thing to do is not
protect the child.
Is not basically screw over your friend. I was saying you've also got Cara Dune.
Yes.
Who obviously is a character that's maybe getting recast. They obviously wrote her out of the show entirely after series 2 because of obviously political mumbo jumbo she was spreading on social media, and I think she's an interesting character. Obviously she's a former drop trooper. So obviously for the rebellion, she obviously has a tattoo, so she has to keep covering it up so people don't check her serial number. And she's obviously this pretty badass character. She can hold her own against Mando, and obviously she's very tactical with what she does, and she's a good ally to the character. And I know you said, obviously they did recast her. Obviously someone like Michelle Rodriguez would be a good choice. I mean, especially I've seen her in the Dungeons and Dragons outfit. It's very similar build to this character in this.
They do look very similar as well.
So that's a decent recast if it was to happen. Would be say Michelle Rodriguez or something.
There are probably some few people who didn't realise who was recasted. Fair.
If it did, no, it's the same person. No, it's not. No, it's not.
but shh, it's not.
You're just being racist. You're just being spacist.
God, all space people look the same. You can't say that.
Spacist. But yeah, obviously she's a pretty interesting character. Obviously you also got the little guy. Obviously the former he was a bit of a bad guy, but obviously he paid his debt.
He was enslaved to the Imperials, yeah.
And then obviously he had to get himself out of it, and obviously he's a good guy now. He's a good guy now who doesn't want to actually hurt anyone, and he just wants to help Mando. He doesn't want to even accept money. He just wants to. It's he'll literally accept your thank yous and gratitude. Yeah. He was a really nice character in the first series. Obviously, it doesn't end well, but it was a really nice character in the series. Obviously, you also got the child, obviously little Grogu.
Who's not called Grogu yet.
No, he's just literally called the child.
Mm-hmm.
Not till series 2 that he's referred to as Grogu. But yeah, he's like this really cute little sod.
Yeah, it's like we take this really old, wrinkly, like wizard guy who speaks in riddles and possibly might have some kind of speech impediment because his race doesn't actually do that.
Yeah, no one is with that one though. No one is specific that one.
Yeah.
It was fucking obviously the guy who it's obviously a Sesame Street Muppets bloke behind it. So he's just too into his Sesame Street background that he's just made Yoda into this thing.
I like to think Yoda was a massive drunk.
Oh, obviously,
like,
Yoda's fucking.
During
Yoda's
his years, he was getting high in everything, and he's got this permanent high now.
Frank
So
Oz,
he's always high. I think Yoda's always high.
But yeah, this little Grogu, like the animatronics on Grogu was so fucking
the
good.
cutest thing for what used to be the most wrinkliest, ugly, oldest thing ever. It's a weird, like little gremlin puppet, but old, and then it's just the cutest thing I've ever seen in your life.
Just the shenanigans he gets up to, like it literally is basically a toddler. Some of the shit he does, like you put him in like his little crib, and then you just see him creep over and just get something. And the buttons, when he's just staring at Mando as he's clicking the buttons, even though he's been told not to. The fact that he starts flying the ship when they're basically trying to sort something out, and he has to get taken off it because he's fucking about to crash him. Like some of the stuff, they said the little meme of him drinking. Was obviously when Mando and doing a fight, and just watching him have this little brawl, and just like eating the frog and. Like, it gets better in series 2. Some of the shenanigans he does, like he steals people, like kids, like cookies and stuff in the second series, which is just hilarious. Because the kid won't give him one, and he uses the Force to drag it to him. But obviously, over the course of the series, he starts seeing these Force abilities. So it's not like from the get go. From the get go, he's literally just like a child. But then episode 2, you get the hint at the fact that he has the Force, and then like towards the end, that's when you start seeing it more specifically with the Fire Trooper when he's burning, and obviously you use the fire to block it and just torch this motherfucker.
And you just start seeing Force healing as well, which is something that's difficult to do.
That's why he's always collapsing, because he's still too young for this, and that's why eventually he'll have Luke and Ahsoka as a sort of mentor figure to sort of assist him, specifically Luke.
Luke was trained by Yoda as well.
Obviously, Ahsoka's more just like trying to like, keep Luke down to earth in this situation. He's still a child, Luke. But obviously, we haven't got to any of that yet because it's still in series 1. But it's a lot of the fucking visuals for this show are really well done. Obviously, this invented that new technology that they're filming. Like they film like a massive like sort of circle of screens all around them. Like a brand new technology. I think for Ragnarok used it as well. Love and Thunder. I think that utilised it because of this show. This introduced this new filming technique that was so groundbreaking that it's like it's so good to do, and obviously other things and they started to catch on and use that as well because it's really good. And that does help with a lot of these visuals of the desert. And like, you'd think the desert boring, but a lot of the shots make it look really visually stunning.
The Tatooine is basically something we've seen constantly, but at least in this one it looks a bit more different, and we're seeing different parts of it. We're not just seeing the exact same place over and over again. At least we get to see some.
You get to see a lot of new other planets from this.
That's also
with this series and the second series. A lot of new planets you get to go to that you've never really seen before. There's a lot of monsters that you get to see that you've never really got to see before. Obviously, in this, you get that sort of like walrus type creature in the first episode in the ice, which is like really good visuals for a TV show. The visuals are fucking stunning. Obviously, you also get creatures you've seen before. So you get the Sand People, and obviously the their rides. I can't think what they're fucking called. I can't see my Funko.
The big guys.
I think the Funko of the Mando on one of them is in the other room. I just can't think of what the fucking it's fucking called. Obviously, they're like they're giant rides. With the fucking horns. But yeah, obviously them. You get to see some of them. You get a lot of droids that you've spotted before. I mean, you was like Gonk droid at one point, was you?
The Gonk. The one Gonk.
Yeah, you're like Gonk droid. Obviously, you also get some like sort of R2 type units, but obviously not R2, but obviously that sort of type unit.
The Astro droids.
Yeah, the Astro droids, and obviously you get like the Gondola droid, which is like a giant version of them with a fucking. Like...
It's Obi-Wan's fucking like R2, but swole.
Yeah, basically. And obviously you get other droids, like you get IG unit, which is obviously a bounty hunter unit. There's a lot of really cool new things you're getting to see in this, as well as a lot of like old things that are bring back nostalgic vibes.
I think that's probably why like Grogu works, because it's nostalgia of Yoda,
but also cuteness cute baby one. Of it's a new one.
Yeah, it's a new baby one, and because obviously Yoda's race is one of those ones where like it was completely put in mystery. The only other one we ever saw was like a female one on the council in the prequels.
Yeah. Oh, was it Yodel or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
It's like another Y, wasn't it? It was like a... I know it's in the animated show.
Yes.
In the animated show, she's got hair. She's not bald like Yoda. She's got actually like very like brown hair.
The puppet has hair as well, if I remember correctly. But like that's the only one we ever saw. With the child.
It's the third. Grogu. Yeah, it's the third one we've ever seen.
Yeah, we get to at least see more about. Like we learn that obviously their speech is naturally old and naturally strong.
Like he's a 50. He's a baby.
Yeah,
but he's 50.
So they must age incredibly slow.
Yeah,
which makes like how old was Yoda when he died of old age?
Hundreds of years old easily.
Yeah, if as a baby, 50. I mean, like, and they're naturally very strong in the Force, which might be why, like, their aging slowly is why they're so strong in it. Because obviously it's always shown that the older Force users are usually a lot more stronger.
Yeah, Dooku.
The only one that's probably like an exception is Anakin.
I say he's the only exception because he's young
and because he was created by the Force. Because the Emperor was like, I'm going to pregnate your mom with Force. Yes. Expanding media.
I mean, technically speaking, the Emperor is like the relation of fucking Rey.
Yeah, grandfather's like that.
Mm-hmm.
But no, she's a Skywalker.
Is that pleased fans?
Because Star Wars fans are totally easy to please.
Yep. But yeah, there's obviously a lot of obviously the big nostalgia as well with this. Stormtroopers.
Definitely.
Because obviously the prequels dealt with the clone troopers, whereas this goes back and brings you the stormtroopers, like
got the scout troopers,
flame troopers.
Yes.
Obviously the ones in the darker suits.
Yes, the more imperial ones.
The royal sort of is type of like the royal guard types ones. So obviously that's the big nostalgia there is them, because obviously that's the big plot of this is obviously the Empire, which obviously isn't existing there.
It's collapsed.
It's collapsed, and obviously there's still some aspects of the Empire left, which is obviously
like
these
the
stormtroopers
stuff made out of the
Imperial credits, which is that thing I showed
and
you.
Also the one made out of the Mandalorian armor,
the Beskar steel.
That's it. Which is remnants of it. It's just they're dying out now, but they're still pretty strong.
Yeah, and obviously the sort of big head of what's kind of left at the moment is Moff Gideon, who basically is the bad guy in everything these days. It's fucking Giovanni. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's the guy that's in like The Boys, Breaking Bad. He's in that new Netflix series where he's like he's not a bad guy in it, but he's like a thief. He's in this. He's in Far Cry 6. Like he's the bad guy in everything. He's the go-to villain. So we only get a glimpse of him in this. In obviously the end of the first part of the finale, and in the actual finale, that's the only time we really get to see him and the glimpses of what is to come with this character, because obviously he's the big bad of the next series.
Yes.
So we get little hints of what he's like. The fact that obviously Mando explains that he was there during the Great Purge, which is obviously when Mandalore was destroyed by droids. Because he was like one of the people involved in it all, which is why he has a certain weapon going into the second series. So obviously he's a big problem, and it's a good choice of actor again, because I mean, say he's the go-to villain actor because he's a great fucking actor. So it was great to see him in this obviously in the Star Wars universe as this big bad, and we've only just like touched the surface of what he's like, really.
I mean, like the whole like hint is going to be a very formidable villain was the dark.
end.
Yeah, because obviously you see him cut it out of the TIE fighter.
He's TIE fighter. Obviously, it's in the Star Wars fashion of cutting yourself out of things.
Obviously.
I mean, Liz does it in the first episode of when they're trying to break into see the child for the first time, and
gun.
Obviously they're like, "Oh, how are we going to get into this?" Turn around and see a big gun. The thing is, why not just shoot the door constantly until like you make a hole, not just like try and just like shoot a sort of pattern to make it. Obviously, we know why that is. So you get the fucking and the shot of them standing there in the fucking light. That's the only reason they did that. But it's just like, fucking hell, you gotta have some really good aim to fucking specifically cut in a fucking line to get it. Because I mean, that's sort of like Jedi style lightsaber cutting, but with a fucking massive turret. That's some fucking good aim.
Well, he's a Mandalorian.
But yeah, it's a really good first series, and it's a good way of reinventing the Star Wars universe after the big fuck up of the last couple of years of when it was going out, and also everything that was around this was the big cock up. So it was like it was a good way of reinventing itself, and obviously standing above the rest. But obviously, we wouldn't be in the right mind not to reference another show that's currently airing. That's very similar to this show.
With the exact same lead actor playing the exact same character, but space.
Obviously, it's very similar to The Last of Us. Obviously,
very.
You could probably get away with saying, okay, you might not make the reference to the game. Yes. Obviously, the big reference heavily is obviously because Pedro Pascal is doing the exact same thing in two different shows.
Yeah.
I think that's why the links have been made heavily. Obviously, before the links probably wouldn't be heavily made. I mean, you could also say Logan was the same sort of concept.
Yeah, true.
But the links have been heavily made now between these two things because the fact Pascal is under the helmet and he's also protecting Ellie.
But you can see
a
lot of elements. Like, it's more like out of order.
Yeah.
Like, you got the ending of Last of Us, which yet to be done, but obvious where it's going. Near this start when he rescues obviously Grogu.
Takes him under his wing, yeah.
Yeah, and there's other elements like, oh, this place seems safe, I'm gonna leave him here. Oh no, it's not safe anymore.
Literally, that's all you do. That's all you do. Basically, you start and you got your end, and in between is basically your filler episodes.
Yes.
But they do it in a way to keep you hooked each time. So I'm a big fan, but I admit a lot of times they are basically filler episodes of them just trying to do something before building up to the big final act. But they do keep you interested. So you got obviously the prison escape, which is pretty cool because obviously it's a heist type of one,
and that sort of delves into his past as well.
Yeah, which is obviously something you get a glimpse of throughout. I've seen his past during the Purge. Obviously, you also get the farmer episode when they go to protect the farmers.
Obviously introduces Dune and
you see the AT unit.
Yes.
So the nostalgia there. You also get the one where they're trying to hunt down fucking the actress played May in fucking Age of S.H.I.E.L.D. You get that one.
Sniper.
They're basically filler episodes just to get you through till he needs to go back.
They are setting up characters.
Yeah, they are setting up characters. And giving you a lot of nostalgic vibes.
And
just
building the relationship between him and Grogu.
Yeah, exactly. So they are filler, but they are worthy filler. It doesn't feel like they're not necessary.
They have a point.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of times with filler episodes, it feels like you're watching it
because they've got no ideas.
Let's
just
we need another episode just to fill it out.
Just do some fuck all.
But this feels like it's worthy of being there. And obviously this is made by Jon Favreau, who's the guy behind Iron Man 1 and 2, The Lion King, Jungle Book, you name it, he's probably behind it. He's also in the Marvel Universe.
As Happy.
And also in Daredevil.
Happy. Yes.
In the original Daredevil.
He was, yes.
He was obviously his best mate.
Yes, he was Foggy.
Foggy in the first Daredevil with Ben Affleck. But obviously, for me, this is his best work. So I love the first Iron Man. Second Iron Man, a bit iffy.
The first and second Iron Man, they're good, they just have the problems.
And I do love the live action takes of his Jungle Book and Lion King, but for me this is his best work.
Oh, definitely.
Obviously he's not directing it, he's just straight up writing it. He does direct one episode. Obviously the reason he couldn't direct any at this point was because he was doing Lion King.
Yes.
That's why he wasn't able to direct any.
It's big.
Obviously he wrote the show, but his mind was fully set on Lion King, so obviously that's why, if I remember correctly, he directs I I swear he directs the pilot of the next series, or is it the finale? He directs one of the episodes of the next series. He only directed one. Because obviously this show is directed by multiple fucking people. So you got Taika Waititi, because he's in it, he's directing it. Deborah Chow, who obviously directed a lot of Obi-Wan's in it. Rick, fucking, I can't pronounce his fucking last name off the top of my head because I don't want to try and make a mistake here. He's directing it. Robert Rodriguez is directing some. Obviously Dave Fillion is a big Star Wars creator, directing some. Like it's so many. Bryce Dallas Howard. Obviously, the daughter of Ron Howard. She's directed 2 episodes here and there. So obviously, I like that they're getting got a lot of big named directors who have done like something that you recognise, or if they've starred in something you recognised, to actually create this universe. Since obviously Favreau can't direct it, because I feel like if he could, he would have directed it all. But because he was doing Lion King, he just had to write the series. And then he wrote. I think so far they've got up to series. I think he said recently he's wrote series 4. So series 4 is written of where it's going. So I mean, we're pretty much going to guarantee the next series.
Basically, that's classic Disney, really, though.
Keep working ahead.
Yeah,
it's always either classic Disney, or it's just that he's got so many ideas that he's just writing it down to keep going ahead.
Probably, like you do.
Yeah, basically, just keep the next step going. So you know where you want to see this show go, because I want to see this show keep going as long as it can, until it, obviously if it starts to become a bit stale, like it's what I've spoken about recently with you, The Flash. If it starts to become a bit like that as the show goes on, then I would like to see it to come to a nice ending. But at the moment, obviously just 2 series in, well 2.5 if you can, the fucking Boba Fett show, and obviously the start of the new series, it's not stale, it's unique, it's the standard of the Star Wars universe. So I want to see it keep going further and further.
Yeah, I think you keep planning it. When you plan the show, you know it's got the same quality is going to be kept throughout. But if you just do it on the fly and only plan it when you've been commissioned another series, it can get a bit just dull and not as connected as it should be. If you're planning it ahead, definitely go the right way.
Exactly. It's just a really interesting show, and it's weird that we haven't spoiled heavily a lot for a change.
Yes, that's true.
It's very non-spoiler for a show that's been out for a few years. I think it's just because I don't want to delve fully. I think if I delve too much into it, I'm just going to keep going and going and going and going. But I'm just talking about series. I just wanted to talk about more of obviously just the stuff that we liked heavily. And obviously just a lot of the background stuff and whatnot, rather than just fully delve into everything we see, because there's a lot to talk about. I feel like the best way to do that is if we did it on your show, obviously your Hayden show, obviously, because then we could dissect each episode a bit more, because they are about 40-minute episodes. So that's the best way we probably would be able to hack that, is literally if we did it on your show. That's the best way to go through each episode and actually focus heavily on one episode at a time, rather than trying to remember everything at once. That's why I don't like heavily doing TV shows in the podcast, because you got to try and remember every fucking episode, and it's 8 episodes, so you got to try and remember fucking 8 episodes worth of content. Whereas for your show, as we've seen at the moment with House of Falls, we can focus heavily on one episode at a time.
Whereas when we had to do Miss Marvel and
Moon Knight, She-Hulk,
we've had to
Hawkeye, you name it.
All of it.
We've had to watch all of it and try and remember it. And obviously, specifically with the likes of Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, and She-Hulk, we'll have to remember it after the end of each fucking series. We're at the end. We haven't watched it in a bulk like we have with this. We watch it at the fucking end. We watch them as we go along, week by week, which is obviously what we're going to do with The Last of Us coming forward, because we want to talk about that, obviously compared to the game and stuff like that, when that finishes in 2 weeks' time.
Yes.
So we do want to actually delve into that. Well, 2 weeks' time in terms of what days is going to. Actually, it'll be out. It's within the next 2 weeks. But yeah, obviously that's something we do want to talk about. But that's why I'd rather do TV shows on your show.
Yes.
Because we can do it a bit more individually. The only way I could do it with this is if we just elected an entire podcast episode to one episode, which is a bit shit. I'd rather do it a small 20-minute episode to talk about certain scenes and whatnot here and there, because I can actually spoil a bit more here and there. Obviously, we haven't spoiled anything. bit weird of us, but yeah, shall we rate it? I'd say it's just easy. Got my favourite Star Wars piece of media out there, along with the likes of Empire and Rogue One. It's definitely like my top three Star Wars, and it just hooked me from day one of watching it. As I've seen it multiple times now, and obviously if we ever do it on your show, I'd have to watch it again. So I've already seen it multiple times. I've actually got like a picture of all the signatures of like the cast on it somewhere. Oh, yeah. I don't know where it is. I got given to me one Christmas. I can't remember where I put it. It's somewhere. It's somewhere in this room. Oh, is it? Who knows? Grogu might have stole it.
Classic Grogu.
But yeah, it's just such a good show, and obviously for series 1 specifically, if I was to rate this, it's gotta be 10 out of 10. I just fucking love this show. It's simply like one of my favorite TV shows out there, if not my favorite entire of every TV show I've ever seen. I'm pretty certain it is at the moment number 1. I just love it.
Okay. I would say because it took me a while to get into it, but now I am. It is at its top, I would say. I would give it a 9 out of 10 because it started off, wasn't as interested, but now it's near the end, definitely more. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, okay. So that gives Mandalorian Series 1. The chat gave it overall rating of 9.5 out of 10. 9.5 out of 10.
9.5.
Okay, MVP.
Grogu.
You want to say Grogu?
Yeah.
Is it because he's a cute little bastard?
Yeah.
And he's always stealing stuff?
Yeah.
And he's always been mischievous?
Yeah.
And he's cute?
Yeah.
Grogu. MVP. Runner-up.
Pedro Pascal.
Pedro Pascal's Mando, yeah.
Yeah.
He's obviously the one that's in every single episode.
Yeah.
He's having to basically carry the story of this
dad.
He's having to carry this story of this little guy walking around. So yeah, he's a great actor, Pedro Pascal is. I mean, Game of Thrones, obviously,
yes.
Kingsman film, Triple Frontier, Last of Us,
Bad Wonder Woman.
The Bad Woman. Obviously, he was a standout of that.
Yeah, he was
the
best
bad, but he was like a standout of it. He's just a great actor, and I can't wait to see him in more things going forward. Kind of favourite moment from me is the fire scene at the end. There's a lot of really good moments. I do like the IG unit fucking rampage at the end, but I do love the fire scene, which is like iconic scene of Grogu stopping fire from the flame trooper and just destroying everything with this flame. I've got it on like a massive art print, like a huge art print of. I think it's still rolled up in the spare room. Obviously, of like the fucking all the characters, and obviously there's a big flame trooper. And it's just a picture of Grogu at the front of it, like holding the fire back. It's just that scene's like so like impactful. Like you don't expect it at first, and then obviously that even there, like turn around and just see him just holding this wall of fire. It's just like wow.
Okay. I'd go something similar. I'd say when he heals, the
Carl Weathers' character.
Yes, him, the head of
when you first get to see his healing. In fact, he can actually use the healing power as well.
Because that shows how powerful he is. Because the whole point of like the whole reason Anakin went crazy is because he wanted to learn that power, and he's a little baby, just doing it. So I think that itself is more impactful lore-wise.
Okay.
Yeah.
My question here is, why do you think Mandalorian reinvented the Star Wars universe?
Yes.
Why do you think it stood out above all the other trash that was going at the time? Is it just because it was actually it was something actually good to watch?
I think it's because it doesn't focus on Jedis. That's probably the main reason why. Like they might add,
because everyone loved
they
Boba
add
Fett
the
and Jango
Force
Fett.
with Grogu, but the main thing at the start is this is like one of the few examples they've got of not doing following
Jedi.
And the whole concept of the Mandalorians is actually something people have been wanting for ages before the show, because there's a lot of expanded media, obviously in the Clone Wars series and stuff like that. And loads of like comics and stuff about it. People want to see more of him, and like Boba and Jango Fett, that like they're still quite iconic, right? Even for like the films came out, like
Yeah.
people remember them.
Even with the little screen time of
Yeah.
Boba.
And Boba didn't have much screen time
Until Nev.
Yeah, but back then, even people still
wanted more from these characters because they are pretty cool characters. I mean, Bane is pretty cool. Also, I forgot to mention that I built the fucking Razor Crest that's above my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
It took for ages. That's another thing I forgot to mention. The fact that I have is the Razor Crest.
It's got a baby Grogu in it.
There is a baby Grogu in it, yes.
Yes.
It's really, I'll show you.
I can see some blurry green things.
I'll show you in a bit. It's really tiny. But yeah, I think there's many reasons why this was successful compared to a lot of the other things. And obviously,
it's got high quality main. The actors themselves fully
want to do the show.
And they're strong. All the different directors I think help as well, because they can all
and
help each other.
One big thing: it's one person creating it all.
Yes,
it's all different directors,
but writing,
it's just one person. Whereas
his
new trilogy was multiple different directors, multiple different writers. So obviously, fucking JJ wrote and directed the first and last one, but then he obviously had Rian Johnson, the guy behind the Knives Out movies. He wrote and directed the second one, which obviously it's a different person, so they're giving different input into that one.
And they completely change what they set up from the first one.
I would say it's lucky that fucking. Obviously, though I like Colin Trevorrow's Jurassic World movies, it's lucky that he dropped out the third one, or else it would have been 3 films, 3 different directors, 3 different writers, 3 different visions.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with the first and third one, you can at least see the same sort of person behind it, trying to do the same sort of nostalgic vibes. Whereas the second one, you can't see the same person. It's very clearly a different type of movie.
Mm-hmm.
So there's obviously many reasons why this is probably more successful. Obviously,
definitely.
Put what you think was a reason in the comments below, and also what you thought of the first series, and are you looking forward to the next series? That's very soon. It's pretty much going to be out starting by the time this goes out. Yep, it starts the 1st of March and runs up until the 19th of March, I believe it is, just before my birthday. So yeah, obviously that is that. Obviously next week we are actually going to move on to the second Reef movie.
Well, we'll find out.
At the moment, because the other thing was possibly the Midnight Suns talk, but obviously we could do that at any point. I kind of, by the point we get to the fact that I need to play a DLC of it before I do the talk, because that's when I'll get really hyped on it again.
Yes.
So I think that's what I'll wait for. That actually, it makes sense to wait for me to play all the DLCs first. Yeah. Because then I can actually give a full
review.
Yeah, exactly. It makes sense. So obviously we will move on to the Reef sequel. And I actually have found the second DVD that I said was very similar poster. It was where I looked, and I didn't look further down for it. But now I found it's literally right behind you. So yeah, we'll cover that next week. And obviously in terms of Mandalorian Series 2, we'll cover it at some point. It'll probably be more of a bonus one maybe than a straight up one, unless it's like this time where we kind of got distracted.
If we watch it and finish watching it,
we'll talk about it. Obviously, I'd like to do it at some point soon, because obviously then it'd be a good way of then you wouldn't have to catch up with many episodes of Series 3.
Mm-hmm.
So it might always be the case that we watch it and record it, but don't release it for a while. Like we just hold it, we slot it in at any other point going forward. But as I say, or it could be an extra one, because we're known to do extra ones here and there. So we'll cover it at some point. It just won't be next week or within the next 2 or 3 weeks. It'll be some point soon. So obviously we'll just move back onto our movie topic next week, and then we're going to do some more TV ones. I know you're looking forward to the one ahead of the Last of Us one. I know you're looking forward to that one. And obviously we're also going to be getting Connor back by the end of March for at least one episode. Don't know what topic we're doing yet, but we'll figure it out by that point. I've wanted him back for a while to do some talks, obviously.
Well, we talk about his favourite porn parodies. And why is the Adam Family one
his favourite? Because, brother, what do we do? I mean, I haven't seen it.
Sounds like you have. That sounds like you have.
But yeah, obviously you can check out the podcast on Spotify, iTunes, you name it. Obviously it's on YouTube as well, where you can see us dicking around showing off Mandalorian merchandise and me really badly trying to get into a chair and shoot people with a Nerf gun. Because the actual Mandalorian Nerf gun you can buy is shit.
Is it?
You can actually get the rifle, but apparently it's really bad.
I can imagine.
Apparently, it looks very obviously cheap, obviously, but it's pretty shit apparently, and it's like really crap.
Yeah, proper.
It's expensive, like it's over £100. I was gonna buy it, but apparently it's really bad. I watched a lot of reviews talking about it, and I was watching it, and looking at myself. I was like, yeah, no, I don't want it now. Just save myself like 120 quid there, and then spend that 120 quid on Ghostbusters car. I mean, nothing.
It sounds like that's what you did.
But yeah, obviously, we hope you enjoyed. Obviously, this has been the Chat Cave podcast. So we'll see you next time.
Bye.